How would you explain what you do for a living or what you're known for if talking to a young child?
Oh, to a young child. So I am a primary school teacher who also goes around lots of other schools training other primary school teachers on how to use technology in the classroom.
Fantastic. Now, obviously, for me, as not a child, what does that actually look like?
So I work part-time in my school, and then the rest of the week I run my own training business. So I'm in schools here, there and everywhere, running CPD sessions and training sessions, conferences, courses, the lot. So, yeah, good mix.
So just for anybody who doesn't know, I'll give it from our perspective. We were talking to different people in education about who we should possibly connect with, and you came up as, if you're going to speak to one person in education in the social media space, it needs to be Mr P.
Yeah.
Why is that? Tell us about that trajectory.
And I think quite a few teachers sort of appreciate the content, the resources I share, but also the sort of light-hearted look at education, the sort of ups and downs. And I think for a lot of teachers, they find it quite relatable because it sort of helps them realise that they're not the only one that goes through those struggles.
Yeah. So what about your trajectory to getting here? So obviously just saying, I've been doing it for 10 years, garnered a following. If I were to just look at your Instagram numbers, let's say, that's something that many people would aspire to have.
Yeah.
But how does one go about getting to your position, whether that's within education in the classroom or outside of the classroom?
Just finding the niche. So my niche was sort of technology to begin with, and it sort of evolved and looked at, just funny insights into the classroom and just being brave enough to share it. And like I say, I think it just resonates with a lot of people. So over the past few years, that's grown. We then started the podcast a few years back, so that's then brought in even more people.
What's the name of the podcast?
The podcast is Two Mr P's and a Podcast. So it's me and my brother, who is a HLTA in school. And we were on a family holiday 5 years ago, sharing funny stories from teaching, and then thought, we should sit down, record this, and yeah, that's been mad. So that's like 6 million listens, couple of books out. We've just finished our second nationwide tour, live show tour. So it's been quite a journey. I'm enjoying every minute. So
let's talk about the significance of certain people on that journey. If anybody, who are the people on your journey who fueled or failed you the most?
Thinking about the teachers that inspired me, I had some amazing teachers when I was at school, and I think they really impacted my decision to go into teaching. So very grateful for the experiences I had at school. My wife is by far one of the most amazing people that understands and allows me and has helped and supported, obviously, when I'm doing all my travelling. So she's absolutely incredible. And then I'd say the other person, there's lots of other people, but Alan Pete, who was an English education consultant. He's retired now, but he was the person that first sort of took me under his wing, gave me loads of advice as far as creating a business and sort of helping me in those first couple of years really build the brand. So to him and Julie, his wife, I'm always grateful.
I've always hated the question, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
Obviously, I know people like Gare Growl say you should change it to who do you want to be when you grow up, but for a kid, normally answer what your mum or dad does or what the people around you do, or what's going to get the best response.
Yeah.
Right? If you'd have been asked that as a little kid, what would you have said?
So I always wanted to be an actor.
Why is that?
And I did quite a bit of acting. I don't know, actually. I just was really into it when I was younger. Obviously, I used to play loads of sports as well, but I was never as good at the sports. But yeah, I did acting up until I was about 16. And then I remember I went to a school that was big on rugby, and I got a call back for a Hollyoaks audition.
Right.
And I got down to the last 4, and it meant I had to miss one of the biggest rugby sevens tournaments in school. And the lads at school, we're at that age, 15, 16, they just ripped me to shreds.
Yeah.
And I got really conscious of that age, and sort of regret that a little bit. I wish I would have been able to work through that and stick with it. But I suppose it's helped me do what I'm doing now, having that sort of interest in being all right standing up in front of people, and sort of, I suppose teaching is performing in a way, isn't it? So yeah, an actor for sure.
What advice do you have for people who, let's say, look at your career trajectory, whether that's as a teacher or as an education influencer,
Yeah.
and go, I want some of that, I want to be like you?
Yeah.
What's your best advice?
So I'd say find your niche, find what it is that you're passionate about, that you're enthusiastic about, and yeah, just give it a go. Try and make content that's relatable. When it comes to social media, I always think, what's the value you're giving people? Now, that value can be educational. You can be sharing resources that help teachers in the class, or for me, it's like helping teachers in the classroom, or it could be entertainment, or, so it's sort of looking at what value you're adding with people when it comes to social media, and obviously doing that through your niche, and yeah, sticking with it. It's not been an easy journey. I put the graft in, but it's been incredibly rewarding, and the sort of opportunities I've had through utilising social media in that way has been phenomenal.
Not easy in terms of what are some of the obstacles or stumbling
Well, just
blocks?
like when I first started out, so how I came about was we'd bought a class set of iPads in school, and it was my job sort of implementing them across the curriculum, across the school, and obviously the content that the kids were creating couldn't be stuck in a book, and I didn't want to go down that process because we do enough of that. So I started a school blog, and I was sort of sharing the students' work on that. I was then getting messages from people saying, I'd love to know how to do that myself. So that's what kicked my social media off, making a teacher platform and then a teacher blog. So the graft was, I'd do a full day's teaching, I'd then get home and I'd be writing blog posts to, late into the evening. But the motivation of knowing it might help another teacher or inspire another teacher. So yeah, they were the testing times. My wife just put the computer down, Lee. Let's watch something or whatever. And but I was like, no, there's something in this. And then, yeah, obviously off the back of that, teachers were asking for the training in person, and that's where it all sort of built from there.
What about writing books? How does that fit in? Obviously, I understand why you'd be writing books.
Yeah.
But what I'm more interested in is like being a man with a family and a career and other projects.
Yeah.
I think this is something that normally is asked of women, which isn't particularly fair. But how would you manage that work-life balance and still spin all those plates successfully?
Well, it depends if you call it a success. So it's, I don't always get the balance right. And again, I'm very grateful that my wife steps up to the plate when I'm away. But yeah, the books, it's just, I'd have never have thought, and you could ask all my teachers at school, I'd ever been in a position where I've written 2 Sunday Times best-selling books. To be fair, the lockdown, so the first book was written during the first lockdown, when obviously all my work in person just went and I had that time. And then the second book I wrote when I got COVID and had to isolate for a couple of weeks, and I thought, need to pass the time here. So yeah, but yeah, it's been amazing, and the sort of feedback we've had and how it's resonated, and it just goes to show that if you've got that interest, if you've got that passion, and I never thought I'd been in a position to write a book like we have, and yeah, it's special. I'm very grateful.
What about purpose?
Yeah.
So you do what you do, and as many people I speak to do, they start off with a particular mission. It might be just to make money. It might be because they've got a passion for something, and then it transitions from one thing to another, and suddenly you find yourself in your position, which is quite a wonderful position, it seems. But what's your purpose in doing that?
To help teachers. I think teaching can be the best job in the world if you get the environment right in a school. Unfortunately, our education system is broken and needs fixing, and it really pains me that the messages I receive on social media to see so many amazing, incredible educators at a point where they just feel they can't do this job anymore. And I feel really passionate in sort of changing that and being a voice to try and hopefully make people see that this job shouldn't be a case of constantly having to prove yourself, and more around trust. And if you can trust teachers, they can do the job they're capable of doing, have the time then to make more out of things like technology. I'm very passionate about how technology can remove barriers for certain children, make learning accessible. So it's that fuels me knowing. Someone once said to me, it must be amazing what you do. If you're a full-time teacher, you'd have an impact on 30 children. But when you're doing all this training, you're impacting hundreds of teachers who that then impacts thousands of kids. So, that's my motivation, that's my purpose. And And yeah, I'm trying my best to try and get that education system back to where it should be.
Last question, and some people find this difficult, so if you don't know how to answer it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But imagine you bump into somehow 10-year-old Lee.
Yeah.
And you tell him what you're up to now, what you do for a living,
Yeah.
what your family and everything. What do you think he'd make of you?
They'd probably go, "What's social media?
Fair
What's
enough,
this
yeah.
Facebook you talk about?" I'd like to think he'd be quite proud. I think I'd definitely say to him, back yourself a little bit more. Don't listen to other people when you're going through those formative years. That might have taken us down a different path, but I don't regret anything. I'm in a very lucky and fantastic position to do what I'm doing now. So maybe just enjoy the ride a little bit more.
Thank you so much for taking the
Oh,
time.
no worries. Thanks
This
for
was
having
great.
me.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
LinkyThinks.